Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drawing with Mr. Sepulveda. I'm Mr. Sepulveda, and on today's episode, I'm taking Galahound 19's suggestion about taking My Hero Academia characters and putting them in the Savage Lands. I'm really excited about this one. Hope you are too. Without further ado, here we go. My Hero Academia characters in the Savage Lands.
Alright, so first off, let me say this. I really do enjoy this prompt, Galahound. I think this is amazing. I love My Hero Academia. I'm a big anime fan, and so getting challenged to turn characters from My Hero Academia and putting them in the Savage Lands, definitely awesome. Major props to you. This definitely had me thinking creatively. Okay, so with that being said, Eraserhead was the first character that kind of came to mind. I like him because, one, he can be sleeping in a sleeping bag like a burrito, and it's just hilarious. And then, two, he's a scary dude when you really think about it. His quirk is the ability to remove your own quirk, right? So he can essentially stop your quirk from activating just by simply staring at you, which is, you know, a big feat in and of itself, right? But I figured he'd be a scary enough kind of character that he could probably tame a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so I wanted to incorporate a Tyrannosaurus into this video. Not, just because I like dinosaurs, but just because, I thought it'd be kind of cool to just throw in here, right? Because I don't think I've really done any dinosaur drawings on this channel yet. At least I don't believe so. Someone will have to let me know in the comments if I have, but I really don't remember ever doing it. And so I wanted to kind of come up with a cool enough pose where he's kind of like activating his power. He's kind of looking at the enemy and he's charging at him. And a lot of similarities between this character and the two that I chose within this episode are the fact that their clothes in the Savage Lands are most likely torn apart from all the battles that they had to go through and surviving in the wilderness. And so I wanted to make sure that his clothes were tattered, but I also wanted to balance it with, if your clothes are tattered, well, what are you going to do for some clothing? Well, you're probably going to use some of the leaves and things, some of the twine, vines, whatever that are in the area to help you fix your clothing, I think. And so I wanted to kind of incorporate some of that in this piece. And so you'll notice it with not a loincloth, but I guess so. I try to make that loincloth try to be made out of leaves, which you'll see momentarily. And I do have to apologize. When we get there, I realized that I didn't record my rendering for Aizawa. I think I start doing part of it within the dinosaur, and then I just completely forget to hit the record button. So I do apologize. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter. The other ones, I did have the recordings done for the rendering. But here I am just kind of picking out colors for Aizawa. I try to make them all a little bit more muscular. I like to make my characters a little bit more on the muscular end anyways. But I figure if they're always hunting and moving and running, then they'd be gaining some serious muscle, right? And so I wanted to make sure that was evident within every fiber of all these characters that I draw. But Eraserhead's one of the ones that I chose. I know Galahound will tell you he's not really popular, but to me, he's always going to be a classic staple as the teacher for Class 1A, okay? So here we go. I'm going to get into a more popular character on the next one, but here is Aizawa. Alright guys, we all know Todoroki, Shoto Todoroki, probably one of the most favorited characters out there besides Deku and Bakugo, right? And I love Todoroki. I've actually drawn him a few times. I definitely have a video somewhere on here where when I was still running my Hero Academia class or club on Outschool, where we changed this quirk around. So we kind of gave him rock abilities and lightning abilities instead of fire and ice. So we were trying to come up with other opposites for him. So I think the challenging part was trying to determine what kind of pose I wanted for Todoroki. And ultimately I kind of came up with this idea of coming up with like a Wolverine type of pose where instead of having the claws, right, he'd be using like ice claws, because I wanted to pay like homage to the actual Savage Lands for the X-Men. Here's a face that I'm using for Todoroki. Don't worry, it doesn't stay. I actually fix it up because I looked at it later and I was like, nope, this is just not Todoroki at all. As much muscles as these guys can gain, there's just absolutely no way this could be believable or this could be seen as Todoroki. So I do fix up that face. There is something that I do to this character and the character after that I actually don't add into the rendering. And it's not because I didn't want to, but it's because I completely forgot. Okay, so I will take blame on that. I was trying to give them like some warrior paint on them, and yeah, it definitely didn't work. I completely forgot about it at some point during the rendering phase. When I was doing Eraserhead, it took me about, with rendering, it took me about maybe 4 or 5 hours. Todoroki actually took me the absolute longest. It took me about 8 hours, right? And I didn't do it all in one sitting, which is also probably why I forgot about some of those marks that are on him. But ultimately, I had fun drawing him. I kept him muscular. I kept him with his fire. I kept him with his ice. I wanted him to kind of be a little bit more on that tribal jungle-esque type of route, which is kind of what Galahound suggested, but was inspired by the Savage Lands, and I kind of went more on the Savage Lands route with this. And so I wanted to kind of put like beads, keep the bone or the tooth. I'm not sure if it's a claw or a tooth on him, but it is a bone of sorts that he wears as a necklace. His pants are all tattered up. He's got no shoes left. And you know what? I think that was kind of fun to do. Just kind of like remove the boots and stuff. Kind of seeing how the flames come off of him. The hands, oh man, I struggle with the hands in this one, not going to lie. They could have been better. Absolutely could have been better. I'll tweak them here and there. I'll keep manipulating the size of them throughout. And I'm pretty sure it all got recorded. If it didn't, it'll be evident in a little bit. Because some of my hands, and I know I do this, and I do this with a lot of characters, but I make the hands too big. And they're not really proportionate. But you know what? It is what it is. So here I am just kind of rendering through the pants. I do my first level of shadows, put them onto a multiply and blur them. Second level, multiply, blur them. And then I start doing the highlights, right? So I pick out my yellows, rub them in, blur them, put in the whites. And then at this point, I start thinking, oh, you know what? Its flames are going to be on this side. Ice is going to be on this side. And so that's when I throw in the reds and I throw in the blues. And so here I am rendering his skin, rendering his foot a little bit. And I think the rendering on the legs and the foot came out really well. I'm really satisfied with the way that came out. The leg right here looks like it's encased in ice, which is something that I was like super proud of. And I really wish, and I really do wish that I had went straight to the ice arm while I was doing it, because I ended up doing it on separate days and I forgot what colors I had chosen as I was rendering there. Even though I've got some of it on this palette. Like I've been putting on a palette lately to kind of help me out so that I can remember what colors I'm using on what layers and things like that. Rendering of the hair, I think it came out great. I started using like a smudge tool or a fingertip tool, and I kept moving it up and down to kind of get some of the motion in there. Here's just the basic shadows on the rendering with some blurs, 1 level, 2 levels, and then adding in some of the lights here and there. I think this came out really well. I was really happy. I was really satisfied as well. I think ultimately, this one's kind of a toss-up. It's either in the wrong spot in the video, like it should be the last one because it looks so good, and the last drawing I did in this video should be in this spot right here as number 2. But ultimately, I chose where I placed them because the last character I chose, I love him design-wise. Originally in the show, I really think his design is really cool. I think his quirk is really cool. And I absolutely think his quirk was meant for the Savage Lands. Like, it would work out really perfectly. I'm not saying Todoroki's quirk wouldn't work. I'm just saying his is a little bit more dangerous in a sense with the fire and the ice, like Ice Age and, Wildfire piece. But I think the other character's quirk was really intended for it. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a moment. So here is Todoroki in the Savage Lands. Alright guys, so one of my favorite characters design-wise is Shoji. And I like him because he's able to kind of create extra arms, but they're not just extra hands, right? He's able to put his mouth and his eyes and his ears and just other body parts attached to the end. And I think this is so dope, and I think it would make for such a great quirk to have in the Savage Lands. Like, seriously, 6 arms. He looks like he can glide and he can fly because his appendages are all like webbed together. He can definitely listen out for any movement within the Savage Lands. I can see him as kind of developing as a warrior. He can maybe have like a sword in one hand, maybe a stone axe in another. He can be on lookout in multiple places. He could be communicating left and right. I don't know. I just thought it would be so dope to have him either like jumping out of a tree or almost looking like he's taking off or lifting off from the ground and be flying. I don't know why. I know he's not really a flyer, but I'm just saying in the Savage Lands, I think he would push his quirk to the next level, right? Either grow more limbs, more legs, more arms, maybe almost duplicate his body. I don't know. But I think he rightfully belongs in this spot. He might not be the most popular, but he's definitely one that I would enjoy seeing a story about if he was there. Even with the main cast and crew, even though his powers aren't like that of Todoroki's level, Bakugo's, Deku's, right? Or even thinking about some of the pro heroes, right? I think he would definitely stand out as one of the top contenders in Class 1A. I'm just saying, let me know your thoughts down below. Does Shoto Todoroki belong in the 3rd slot here, or does Shoji rightfully belong in this 3rd slot? I'm going to have to ask you guys for your opinions. I'm a little biased, so obviously I'm thinking he belongs here and Todoroki belongs 2nd. I also like to correct myself here if I didn't already do it and edited it in the video. Todoroki took me about 6 hours. Shoji took me about 8. I did all of these on multiple days, but yeah, Shoji definitely took me a lot longer because I had to render out all 6 arms. Rendering of the stone rock, I actually had a really good idea on how to do it, and I've done it multiple times at this point. So I felt really confident about doing that axe with the stones on it. So I think that was perfect. The mouths took me a minute. Rendering out the skin, trying to put in some veins and stuff. This was new. I didn't already have this idea going in, but I thought, you know what? I'll try to make it a little grotesque, right? Because that's really what it is. He's like morphing these arms and putting these limbs on. I thought I could mess around with some veins and stuff like that. And so I try to make this a little bit more detailed, and I think that's also factored into the fact that I wanted him to be the last one, right? If you guys were to suggest My Hero Academia characters and put them into the Savage Lands, or other superheroes, or any other genres of characters, whether it be video games, movies, comic book, manga, cartoon series, whatever, if they were in the Savage Lands, like, which characters do you think could actually survive in the Savage Lands, right? Give me some suggestions in case I decide to end up doing a part 2 to this, either with My Hero Academia characters, or do a part 2 using other franchise characters, because I really want to know. And I've been loving doing this new rendering style. It does take me a good while, obviously, 8 hours here, 6 hours there, 4 to 5 on one, right? So it does take me some time. But I think I would still keep the rendering style even for another Savage Lands episode. Better than just leaving it cell shaded. And there's nothing wrong with cell shading and leaving it that way, but I'm just saying I would totally do it again because I think I pushed myself a lot with kind of manipulating the skin and then showing some movement within the skin that doesn't already exist there with some of the black lines that I put in, okay? So I'm going to let this one kind of time-lapse to the end. Leave your opinions down below in the comments section, and I'll talk to you guys in just a moment. Alright guys, if you like this video, please leave a like. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. We are on our way to our first 1,000 subscribers, and on this channel we have reached a new milestone. We've reached 700 subscribers, and in progress currently we've got our red poster art giveaway, and that red poster art giveaway is going to be given to one of the subscribers that had provided a suggestion for a red character. If you missed your chance to do this, don't worry, I'm going to be doing a green character poster once we hit 800 subscribers on this channel, so don't miss your opportunity on that one once we hit 800, okay? Also, if you guys have a suggestion like Galahound19 had, please leave it in the comments down below, and I'll definitely take it into consideration for creating a video about it. Definitely want 2024 to be a little bit more of us, and I think I'm eventually going to be doing some community redraws so that I can get some subscriber art being redrawn on my side, okay? So, guys, without further ado, I'll see you all next Tuesday for a regularly scheduled video. You all have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.